Hey everyone, it's Bobby at Decoding here, and this is the second video in the Building a User App in Django 3.2 playlist. So if this is the first time that you've visited this channel, then please subscribe and click the little bell so you're notified every time we add a new video, and also like this video and share the content, as is a massive help. So in this playlist, as you'll know, we are building a user app for our Django project. It extends the playlist above here where we built diddemo.com. So in the last video, what we did, we set up the settings.py file and the URL conf, and in this video, we will start building out some models. And if we've got time, we might start looking at signals as well. So let's jump straight into it. Look at my screen. So it's opened up on a CMD. So first and foremost, we need to fire up our virtual environment, and we do that by using the command work on, and it was dd user. And we can also cd into the directory, so it's dd user. Oh, we're already in there, are we? Yeah, we are. So let's just go back because we don't want to be in that comp. And so in this, by being in this directory, we can access the manage.py file and run commands such as python manage.py run server, or migrate, or make migrations. So that's where we want to be on the CMD. But in this video, we need a few extra libraries such as Pillow, because we're going to be building out a user profile model and another one called user tokens. So we use Pillow to handle images. There's a few other libraries that we're also going to be importing at this time using pip, and that will be django-allauth, django-maintenance-mode, and there's a few others. But I'm going to go ahead and type in the command here, but they'll all be listed in the description below. So it's pip install, and it's Pillow with capital P. Django, we're going to be using allauth. So this library allows us to let our users sign up and sign into our app with socials. So we'll be using Google, Facebook, and Twitter. So anyone with a Google account, Facebook, or Twitter account can actually sign up using their login. So it's called django-allauth, which is fantastic. So it's Django maintenance mode, I think is one word. No, it's not. They do have mode. And what else do we need? We need to bring in phone numbers. We also need to bring in, is it countries as well? I'm sure I brought in pycountry. And I think that's it. We might as well bring in Stripe. No, we don't need Stripe for this one, but we will need Twilio. I think that's it for now. Do you know what? That'll do for now. So we might need to pip install some other bits and pieces as the videos go on, but I might as well bring in all of those libraries at this point whilst I'm using pip. And then move it across to my requirements.txt file, which we'll do as soon as this is finished. So, and we do that by going pip freeze, and then a little arrow, and we'll put requirements.txt. So that will just, if there isn't a file in the directory by that name, it will create one, but if it is one, it will just update it, which is helpful. And that's almost done. Do you know what? We'll also add a couple others as well. So it's pip. Oh, what's going on? I'm in the wrong screen. So pip install, and we'll go django-otp qrcode, and I think that's it actually. So we're going to bring in Django one-time password. So using this library allows us to add a fancy pants admin page to our site. We have already gone through this in the previous playlist. It essentially just adds another layer of security to our admin page so users or super users can sign in with a QR code and a one-time password, which refreshes every 30 seconds. So that's what we're bringing in there. So there we go. So now we can go pip freeze requirements.txt. Happy days. Right, that's everything that we need to do there. So actually we now need to go back in our settings.py file, and in that file we now need to change a few bits in our installed apps. So I'll just go on here. Maintenance mode, yeah, right. So if I go and just copy all of this across, because we've gone through this in the previous tutorial anyway. So we're bringing into our installed apps Django one-time password. We've got the TOTP. I always look at that and smile because it can also stand for top of the pops, but it's one of the packages in one-time password. So we've then got maintenance mode. We also do need to bring in Django sites because we need that for one-time password. We will also be bringing in sitemaps because we'll need that in this app as well. No, not necessarily. We're then bringing in AJAX accounts and social accounts, then Facebook, Google and Twitter from social account from AJAX. So that's everything we're going to need. I will go through this in more detail when we're actually configuring it, but we need it at this point because we need access to it in the models that we're going to be building out shortly. So because we're using site, we need to stipulate a variable site ID. And it will just be site ID equals 1. Now it'll make more sense as we go through the tutorials why we're doing that, but we do need site ID 1 because we're using Django contrib sites. Because we are using AJAX, we need to add an authentication back-end list. Oh, come on. Paste. So yeah, because we're using AJAX as well, we then need a little list here to detail the authentication backends that we're using on the project, because it defaults to Django contrib auth backends model backend, but because you're using AJAX as well, you need that in a list. So now it comes down to the middleware. So there's some middleware here that we need to add underneath authentication. So this is for one-time password. I believe I might have missed. Yeah, there you go. So it's django-otp middleware, OTP middleware. We need that underneath authentication. This is all in the docs for the library on pip itself, PYPI. So have a look if you want any more detail on that. But essentially you need that there. And I've added a note here. This is for Django one-time password. I always try to add notes. If I'm adding anything to middleware, just add a little note to let you know why you've put it there and the reason why it is where it is. Because sometimes you can add a middleware and it has to be at the top or has to be at the bottom or has to be underneath a certain one, because middleware is run from top to bottom in order. So it's quite important. We've then got, what have we got here? So, right. We've then got maintenance mode. So maintenance mode goes at the bottom. It must be the last piece of middleware. And what else have we got? We then have some context processes. So this is for maintenance mode as well. We will be using our own, but we haven't built that yet, so I won't add that. So that goes at the bottom. And I believe that's it. There are going to be some social account providers that we need to add, but I won't add them just yet. I don't think we need them in settings just yet, but we will need some more. There are some other variables that we need in the settings.py file to make AJAX work, but let's not bog ourselves down with that just yet. So that's the settings.py. I believe there's a bit that we need to do in URL. Yes, there is. Users, maintenance mode, AJAX, okay. Yeah, do you know what? I'm going to add the whole piece here. So in URLs, so where we just had admin before, we now need an Django admin. So this is the straight out of the box admin page. We're going to call it Django admin. But we'll also have a fancy pants admin page called admin. So we'll get that into the URLs patterns. This one here that comes as default. We have to add the URL patterns for the new app called users. And then we also need one or two bits and pieces in here for AJAX. And it looks like this. So Django admin, that is the out of the box admin page. Admin is the new one. That's the one-time password admin. So it just essentially be a username, a password, and then a one-time password. This will all make sense as the tutorial kind of goes on. And then we have maintenance mode. So that is from the maintenance mode library that we just installed. And then we've got the URLs from AJAX. So they're kind of, that'll all make more sense when I start building it out. So don't worry too much about that. We then need some, what have we got here? What do we need to bring in? Do you know what, I'll just bring in a lot. So all of the imports. I don't want to just type away for the sake of typing. I've already done this project. I will type it out. I know you can code along as I'm going along on some pieces, but when I'm doing imports, long imports, I might as well just copy it across and then just walk you through what I'm doing. So I'm bringing in admin, which is default, path and include, which was on the last tutorial. We need to bring in URL because we are using regular expression here on maintenance mode. We are settings and static in the last tutorial. We're then bringing in the user model. So it's a Django user model from contrib.auth.models. TOTP, so Topola Pops device or TOTP device. I don't know what it stands for. Then we want OTP, one-time password admin site. And we want from users import models as user. And then we want Django contrib sites model import site. So they are the imports that we need. I don't think admin site, we do need that. We do need that. Register user. So we need these as well. So we need to define a class OTP admin, and then it's OTP admin site, which we're bringing in from here, and then pass. And then you have admin site equals OTP admin name OTP admin. And this admin site is what's being referenced here. Okay, so that's how we're creating, using the library, that's how we're creating this new admin page with a one-time password. And then you have to register all of the models to it, but we don't have to do that right now, we'll do that later. So we'll save. So that's the settings and the URL. We could have done it in the last video because we've wasted nearly 10 minutes just readjusting them. But now we'll jump into the models quick. So I'm going to create these models quickly and call it a day on this video because I want these to be almost bite-sized and I don't want to sort of lose you halfway through. So rather than typing away, I am going to copy it all across. So a copy. Yeah, this would take me about half an hour to write all of this out. So I'm just going to copy it across. So we're bringing in models. That's just on default anyway. We need to bring in user from auth models. Dot choices, import countries. We haven't created that. We'll do that in a second. That's basically what we're doing. We're creating some choices from the countries library that we've just installed using pip. So that allows us in an address field to have a pull down of all of the different countries that can be selected. Which is, it's quite handy. It saves having to manually write out a list of all countries. So we'll do that shortly, but that doesn't exist yet, but we'll do in a second. So to access the social account, so we need to access this because of this user profile, we're referencing social account. So what we want to know is when a user is created or when a user profile is created, we want to know what type of user has created it. Is it been a manual sign up or has it been a sign up using a social? That's what we're trying to do by importing that, and it will all come make sense soon. So the class is user profile. This extends the user model from Django. Okay, we will use something called signals and post save and a receiver to create user profile as a user is created. So it doesn't matter if it's a manual sign up. Somebody put in a username, password, maybe a first name and a last name, and then sign up. That will create a user, signal will be fired, and that will then subsequently create a user profile. So by creating that user object, that's key. So when we use AJAX, the social account that's being used to create a user is still creating a user object. Therefore, it's sending a signal to create user profile. I've probably just stumbled through that explanation, but essentially we're using signals to create another profile and extend the user model. That's what we do. So we've got a class meta, so we use verbose name plural, and so this is going to be user profiles. Ordering, we're going to use timestamp. Okay, so all of these objects will be ordered as per the timestamp field. So we have one field called updated, and it's a timestamp field, and it's auto now. You can't use these on SQLite 3, which is default in Django. So we're using Postgres, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, you might come across a problem if you're using auto now or auto now add equals true. So the timestamp is another datetime field. So timestamp will be updated when an object is created, and updated will be updated every single time we make a save to an object to the user profile. User, so it's a one-to-one field, so a user can only have one user profile. On delete equals models.cascade. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger. Avatar, so it's an image field. This is why we need pillow. So you can see we've imported pill from image, or sorry, from pill we imported image. That's what we're using for avatar. So we're using pillow to handle the image. Bio is just a char field. And then we've got telephone address, town, county, postcode, country is active. So all of these fields here is to capture the address that a user gives to their account. And the is active is just, I generally put these in my models, just a way of flagging a certain object as being active or inactive in the admin page. We've then got has profile, so I'm just using that as kind of a flag or a trigger so that I can pick up whether or not somebody has added data to their user profile. I sometimes use booleans in that way. It's just an easy way of having its default as false, and when somebody adds some data, it kind of makes that trigger, makes it active, makes it true, and then I can actually pick that up and render something in the front end. So that's what that is, it has profile. Email verified is another boolean, so has somebody verified their email. Two-step verification, you can turn it on, true, false is another boolean. And then we've got is VIP, so by that I mean some users I'm going to give free access and call them VIPs. So essentially somebody with is VIP is not a staff or super user, but they would have higher access than a normal user. And it's generally somebody that I'd add to the database myself and then give them access. So then we've got capture score. So we're going to be using something called Google Recapture, which you've probably seen it on many websites. It is a Google product that scores form submissions, and the better the score, the more chance it is of being a real form submission and not a bot. So we're using reCAPTCHA, and this gives us the score of the form submission in this instance. So yeah, we're using reCAPTCHA when somebody's creating a user profile. Then we've got def string, which renders an f string here, so self-user, so it would be the name in the user profile. And then we've got def social. So this is where I'm doing a try except, looking at social account. So all this is creating a true or false, so it's a boolean field essentially. There's two ways of creating this as a making this a field, so a Django field. It's not something that will be put into the Postgres database, but by using a property method there, or using a property decorator, it creates a Django field. So it's quite handy actually, because you can make you can do quite intricate filters in views using these fields. So this is looking for social account and saying, well, if this user can be found in social account objects.get, then it's essentially it's true. So it's a social account. If not, it's false. And then we use social equals property. You can also, or instead of doing that, you can just use a decorator and go property. And that would then be, that would do the same, it has the same effect. Okay, so that's the user profile. Then underneath that, we've got user token. So this is a model that helps us with things like password changes. So it creates tokens that can be sent via email to a user, and they can then click a link, takes them to a URL, and they can update a password, or they can verify an email, or so on and so forth. So this is where we're handling tokens. So again, we've got updated, we've got timestamp, then we've got the user, which is a foreign key because one person can have more than one token. And then we've got the token, which is maximum length 100. That's where we save the token itself. Two-step code, that is for if somebody activates two-step in their account. So two-step verification, so an SMS message is sent to their phone, they get their code, and they can gain access to their account that way. You've probably used that in other websites. And then we've got is email. So this flags what type of object it is. So this could be an is email token. This is a password token, or this is an SMS token. So this is one object that handles 3 different things. Okay, then is active equals models boolean, default equals true. They are the models that we're going to have in our project. I will end the video here because by the time I edit it, it'll probably be about 17, 18 minutes long, which is more than enough for one video, and I don't want to lose you. So sorry, I flew through that, but these are the 2 models that we're going to have in this app. It's user profile, user token. We will now, we'll quickly register them in our admin page, so our standard admin page. So we will go from dot models import user profile and user token, and then we want admin dot site dot register, and you simply put user profile, and you don't want it as a string, you want it as the object itself. User profile, and then underneath that is admin dot site dot register, and this is user token. There we go. And now we find out if I've had any typos or there's anything that I need to install, pip install. So we'll go Python manage.py make migrations. Now, in the last playlist, we've got 2 databases. So in that project, when we are in the did demo project, we need to stipulate the database that we want to migrate to. We make the migrations, that's fine. But when we migrate, we need to migrate to a certain database using database routers. We don't need to in this one because the only database we're using is the did demo user database, which is the user DB, right? So it will always use the default database when doing a migration. So we don't need to do anything other than that. So make migrate, that's right. We need to do the choices. So let's do that quickly. So file, new file, save as. And this is going to be, yeah, it's in there. So choices.py, and going to copy and paste it across as normal, just because this video is ticking on now. And I'll walk you through what I'm doing. Paste. So what we're doing here is we're importing pycountry, which is the library that we've imported using pip, and we're then using item getter, which is required when we're using sorted, which you can use in Python. And the whole idea of this is we're trying to create a variable called countries that can be used in models.py as choices. Okay, so these are the choices that we get when selecting a country for the user profile. So that's what we're trying to create, and it needs to be a list of tuples. And I'll just save this. So that's what we're doing here, right? So we're creating a sorted list of tuples which contains country name. And so it's country, so for country in pycountry dot countries, and then we're sorting that list comprehension with item getter and sorted. So that finished list is then, we then add this tuple. So the tuple we've got is select country. So that is the very, very first item in the list. It says select country. And then underneath that, it will be the first country that starts with A, and it'll go all the way down to the last country that ends in Z, or starts in Z, should I say. And that's what we're creating here in choices.py. We're referencing that in models.py. So let's see, now that we've added that choices file, let's see if we can make migrations. Oh, it doesn't like it because we haven't got a user's URL file. So let's do that quickly. New file, save as, and this will be URLs. .py, and do you know what? We will, for now, we will just comment that line out because it's not actually needed just yet. Because it will be looking for an app name, and it'll be looking for URL patterns as well. We don't need that. Lovely. And now what we'll do, we will we won't make those migrations yet because I was playing around with the database before when I was previously doing it, so I won't need to make those migrations. But if you were following along, you will now do Python manage.py migrate, and it will all work fantastic. So I don't need to do that, like I say, because I've already been playing around with the same database in my production environment. That is the end of this video. I'm sorry it's gone on for too long, or a little bit longer than normal. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's been interesting, and I hope it's helping you along with your project. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the content, as it's a massive help. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much.